We know we have social evidence on a lot of things. We know it's possible to have children over 35, healthy children. We know a lot of things. You don't need to continue to go down the rabbit hole on social media because you can't undo, unsee, and unread things that get into your system. And most of it, unfortunately, is not accurate and not healthy because we're not talking about your specific body. And it's really, really key to hone in on your specific body.
Thank you so much for joining us on another awesome episode of Bioenergetics Beat. I'm Heather Gray, a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and certified bioenergetic practitioner, and this episode is brought to you today by Nikki, Unleash the Wellness Within. It's a non-invasive, easily affordable, highly effective approach to optimize wellness. It's a wearable device that puts frequency, better-based life in your hands and on your wrist. So make sure to stick to the very end. You're not going to want to miss your chance at the giveaway that we do on every episode, but you're also not going to want to miss one thing that my next guest has to say, because we are talking about mindset, pregnancy, health, like all those wonderful things that we love to, some of the tougher subjects that we like to tackle on this show, not a lot of people are talking about. So with further ado, let's give Elizabeth King welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And is it Dr. Elizabeth King?
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet.
In the middle.
Oh, okay.
Almost there.
I'm surprised you do a podcast. Your poor brain isn't like scrambled.
Oh boy, yeah.
Awesome. So what is it that you're going to school for exactly?
A PhD in natural medicine.
Okay, very cool. And when should you be finished up with that?
Oh gosh, I'm hoping in the next 6 months.
Okay. Are you Canadian?
No.
Okay. I just heard like a long O in there somewhere.
Oh.
Are you Michigan? No?
Nope, California. We just moved 3 weeks ago to Tennessee, but no, I'm born and raised in California.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Maybe I need to get my hearing checked. I'm living in Mexico right now, and there's a lot of expats from Canada in there too. And so I'm just like hearing long O's everywhere now.
Nice.
We love our Canadian friends. So how is it that you not being finished with your studies just yet, how is it that you got into the kind of work that we're going to be talking about a little bit later? Tell us a little bit about your background, and you're probably got a pain to purpose story is the reason why we're talking about this.
Yes. Well, honestly, the interest in fertility came about for me over 30 years ago when my sister was diagnosed with an extremely rare form of cervical cancer and was had to do a radical hysterectomy at 25. And my first thought was, I'll have a baby for you. I don't worry about that. Let's just worry about you getting healthy and surviving this. And so I didn't know what a cervix was. I was 19, and at that time, still now, you're not able to have a baby for a sibling until you've had your own child, just for psychological reasons within the family and whatnot. So anyway, I got very involved in women's wellness and health and stuff from, in my 20s into my 30s. When I was 30, I got divorced and thought, maybe I should look into freezing my eggs. I had some people around me that had been having some struggles, and I went to the doctor and he said, you're young, the technology is not that great. Come back, hopefully you'll, meet somebody and you won't need this situation.
What kind of an answer is that? That's horrible.
I know. I was shocked, to be honest with you, but I also understood even at that time why he was saying that, as far as my chances of the way that they thawed and froze eggs is different than it is now. And so the chances of the survival of those probably weren't so great. So anyway, I went back at 36 to do it on my own because I was still single, and started that journey. And it wasn't like I had this burning desire to always be a mom. It was, I had my 401k checked and I had my eggs frozen checked, and I was back on my way to run my business and travel and do all the things. But I had this kind of subconscious thought that, okay, that's taken care of if and when I ever need that. Fast forward to 39, I started having some changes with my period, I noticed, and went to my regular OB, and she said, oh, you have a couple fibroids, but it's not a problem. At this point, I knew I wanted to I just met my current husband, knew I was going to want to use my uterus, and thought maybe I should go back to that fertility doctor and just double check this to see, I don't know, something just didn't seem right to me. And he said, well, actually, they're small, but where they are in the lining, you won't conceive because that's where an embryo would need to be, right? So he suggested a gynecological oncologist to have surgery to do that. Um, and at this point, I was now 40. And after the healing process, he said, okay, it's time to try. And we did. And the first month, we got pregnant. And I got down on my knees in a hotel in Atlanta and was thanked God that it happened. I was so surprised and also excited, but also realized subsequently that it gave me this idea that, okay, this is easy. We got this. And then I went on to have losses and more struggle and whatnot. It was during that first loss that we were in the clinic getting my DNC, which is the tissue pulled out after a loss. And the couple next to us was having an embryo transfer. So they were getting ready to have a fertilized embryo transferred back into their uterus. And we were 4 feet apart with a like fabric drape between us. And I remember thinking, I'd been a life coach at that point for many years and thinking nobody prepares you for these situations emotionally. The doctors, the nurses, as nice as they are, they're not qualified to help us through this. And I was sincerely happy for this other couple, but obviously very devastated for us. And that's when I made the change to really focus everything to helping men and women in this space of fertility.
Oh my gosh, you touched on something huge right there that I totally forgotten about. I miscarried the first time
Hmm.
and had a DNC done. And yeah, there was nothing mentally to prepare any of it. And then even after I had my hysterectomy, the removal of an organ, right? Like there was no mental prep. And I didn't even think about it until about 3 days later. And then I just started to cry, to
Right,
bawl, to grieve this missing part of my body.
right.
Like, bah, it's bringing up, it's bringing up
Yeah,
emotions as we talk about it. But
it's a
yeah,
big deal.
nobody talks about this because it's still, now I wouldn't say it's taboo, but it's definitely still
I
kind of
have
hush,
goosebumps now. Yeah.
right? Like that there's something wrong with me and this is why it happened. And so that it's crazy. I do wish women would share and talk about these struggles more often and normalize it because it happens a heck of a lot more than I think most people realize.
It sure does. So loss in that is 1 in 4 that's reported. There's a lot of loss that's happened that's not reported or that people don't even realize that they have a missed miscarriage. So I really believe that it is more than that. And then fertility, it's 1 in 6 worldwide. So I always say when you're in a Starbucks line and you see people in the line, count those numbers because you're not alone if you're struggling through this. There's a lot of people out there that are going through it.
Well, and I heard that the US right now kind of like leads infertility and leads like infant mortality. Like it's pretty, I can't remember where I just recently saw this, but it was a pretty startling number considering it was like one of the top world, first world countries, but last when it comes to, blah blah blah. And I was just like, what?
Yeah, there's a lot out there right now that doesn't make sense. There's a lot reported right now as well too with fertility rates being down, and that's a little different than infertility or people that are struggling, right? So there's a lot of people that are choosing not to have children anymore, and that's kind of for the first time ever, really, to say, I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that, for whatever reason it may be. So there's a lot of different situations as to why people are, but specifically with infertility, it's not going away.
Mm.
There's definitely a lot of things that have happened the last few years that I really believe people are going to struggle even more than they had in the past, unfortunately. So
So what happened with your sister?
she's alive and well 30 years later. She's the only person on the planet who has survived this type of cancer. So I'm really happy to say she did not ever go on to adopt or have children, but she's the best auntie ever.
Oh, okay, awesome. I know, I was like,
Yeah.
but wait, what about your sister?
Yeah. Yep. She is our miracle. That's
All
for
right.
sure.
Wow. Well, I had no idea that this show was going to take so many turns. I was like, okay, now I'm all sparked up. All right. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We're going to pause for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to dive deeper into the name of the show, hitting your mental reset button when struggling to get pregnant. And most of you might be like, well, what the hell does my mental health have to do with my infertility? But stay tuned. We're going to find out. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
There's a new word for wellness, Nikki. Nikki is your personal wellness companion, a sleek wearable device that lets you choose from a variety of programs to match your day. With a simple tap on the Nikki screen, you can explore wellness programs created for different moments and lifestyle. Need a lift? Select energy. Looking to unwind? Tap stress and anxiety. Want to feel more at ease? Choose pain. Heading out on a trip? Try travel to help you feel ready for new adventures. From busy mornings to quiet evenings, Nikki puts a variety of wellness experiences right at your fingertips and on your wrist. Life moves fast. Nikki moves with you. It's a portable way to bring wellness technology into your everyday routine, wherever life takes you. Your day, your choice, your wellness program. Nikki Wellness Technology. Delivering frequency enhanced health. We are Nikki.com.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us again. All right. So I'm excited. Talk to us. Talk to us, my dear. Tell us. So how does your, hitting the mental reset button while struggling to get pregnant? What do you mean by that?
Well, if anybody has struggled to get pregnant and they have been told, oh, just relax, go on vacation and it'll happen, you want to punch that person in the face, right? You just like, oh my God, please.
We do not condone violence on this show.
No, and I'm certainly not, but
I'm
it's
kidding.
the inside voice that's like,
Yeah.
please don't ever say that to me. And the reason that is there is much more to it than just relaxing for a lot of people. And yes, that's one of the main pieces, but it can go so much deeper than that. And one way to know if it's something that needs to go deeper is if most people that come to me who come to see me are very type A and they have done all the things and they have done all the diets and they've tried all the things and they're still not getting pregnant, but nobody again has asked them what is your situation in life like, what's your work like, what's your relationship like, what's the situation with your family, what are those dynamics. And all of those things can also play a role on our nervous system. And when our nervous system is in a place where it's not ideal, our body sends a message, it's not safe to be pregnant right now. So yes, we're not running from the saber-toothed tiger, but there's other areas in our life where we think, this isn't a good time for my body to be pregnant. And most people are so used to that being their norm, running so fast every day that they're like, no, I'm not stressed. And you're like, really? Are you sure? And when we start to break that down, they're like, okay, yeah, maybe I am a little bit, but they're so used to that being the norm that they don't even recognize it. And or to take it even further than that, we work a lot with the subconscious mind versus the conscious mind. So a lot of people will say, well, I've been doing affirmations, for so long and nothing's working. Well, if your subconscious mind doesn't have buy-in to what your conscious mind is saying, it's just going in one out the other kind of thing. So what we do a methodology called PSYCH-K, which basically takes the right side of the brain, the left side of the brain, the unconscious, subconscious, and works through, we call it clearing and balancing of those blocks. So similar to maybe a hypnotherapist type of situation, but we don't have to do multiple sessions of that. And people, you'd be surprised. Sometimes people think on their subconscious, if I get pregnant, I'm not going to have a successful career anymore, or my relationship will suffer, or I won't be able to travel as much. So there's these little kind of underlying threads sometimes that could be just the one thing that's keeping your body from saying like, no, this isn't, we're not quite there yet. Consciously we want to have a baby because we think, oh, it's time, I got married, I want to get pregnant or whatever, but there's something inside that's keeping us from that. Now then there's the whole other side of things that may be the the physical part of it, right? So maybe you went to the doctor and your AMH level, which means your egg quality is not great for your age. I always tell people, don't freak out. That can change. I've seen it change hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. I myself had three kids naturally over 41. I'm not that special. I just did a lot of things to make sure everything was in line. So there's a lot of different aspects to change the mindset when you're trying to get pregnant. And it's really about finding what works for you. I think so many people read like, oh, I need to meditate or I need to journal. And for some people, myself included, when I was in that, that would stress me more, like, oh my God, I need one more thing to do, or I'm doing it wrong, or, it just, so
Especially type A personalities, because they want something that can just check off the list and then they end up forgetting being present with the whole process to begin with. So that sounds like an awesome option for the type A folks.
right. And it's one of those things that you're not able to physically see the result, right? Like we want to say, if I do X, then this happens. And when you're on a fertility journey, it's not that simple. For men, it's pretty simple because we can measure this sperm and we can know within the time frame that things have changed within 70 days. Like if a man is saying, I'm going to take these supplements and I'm going to do these diet changes and lifestyle changes, then I can see the result most of the time. For women, we don't have that. We don't have a gauge that's going to be able to do that. So it's really tuning into yourself and knowing, okay, this is the right flow for me energetically to be into this. And again, specific to you, because what's right for me is not going to be right for the next person. And I see so often people self-diagnose based on something they saw on social media of, oh, Susie Q's doing this, so this is what I must do for myself, and that's going to be,
Health influencers piss me off more than anything on this planet right now, because it's so hard getting the brainwashing that's already done to people with the medical establishment. And then now I've got to work against this 21-year-old with zits all over his face talking about, oh, don't even get me started.
Well, you pretty much nailed it. And I think that's the thing. I feel like we know we have social evidence on a lot of things. We know it's possible to have children over 35, healthy children. We know a lot of things. You don't need to continue to go down the rabbit hole on social media because you can't undo, unsee, and unread things that get into your system. And most of it, unfortunately, is not accurate and not healthy because we're not talking about your specific body. And it's really, really key to hone in on your specific body.
So, perfect segue. So tell us, how do you work with people on their specific body? What do you do? How
So
do you do things differently?
what I do is my whole thing is bridging the science and the spiritual, emotional aspect of it. So we do want to get your blood work done. We do want to see the lay of the land, I say. I've seen people struggle with fertility for many, many years only to find out that they have blocked tubes or an inverted uterus or something like that. So it is important to know structurally that everything is fine. Then we can go on to say, okay, what's a thyroid like? What's a vitamin D like? What are these kind of basic things that we check the box first and make sure all of those things are okay and in line? Then we get into inflammation in our body. We want to do specific to your body, you want to do a food sensitivity test that will tell you what is it that you should or should not be eating. Again, most people on a fertility diet are no sugar, no gluten, no dairy, et cetera, et cetera. If you don't have sensitivities to that, maybe you feel better not eating that, and that's great. But we're really just working on what's going to be causing inflammation in your body because we do know that there are studies now that it's the inflammation in our body that causes the eggs to deteriorate, to age, so to speak, rather than the age itself, right? So my inflammation in my body was low in my 40s, therefore I was producing healthier eggs in my 40s. But as I get older, just naturally, our bodies create inflammation. So knowing what is right for me, for example, eggs are highly inflammatory for me. If I Google a fertility diet, eggs are going to be one of the main things to eat on a fertility diet. For me, it's the worst thing I could be having. My stomach bloats, I have diarrhea all day, like it's awful. And it's really one of those things that it's so important for you to figure out, not just reading generally what's online, because yes, for most people, you can figure out, your way around things online, but I see so many people that are over supplementing. They're doing a wrong diet for their body because they saw something online, and it's actually doing more harm than good because their body can't metabolize all the supplements they're taking because they don't need it. So they're working against themselves. And then they're kind of not having fun with food because they're on such strict diets, thinking that this is what's going to get them pregnant. And it's so much more than that. So we really kind of work through every single thing. And then once we get all that squared away, then we start working on the mindset. Okay, let's dig in. What beliefs do you have about pregnancy, birth, motherhood, whatever? What did your family go through? Is there any trauma in your family history that we need to work through, or your partner's family history that needs to be worked through? You would be surprised how much we carry that doesn't belong to us. And it's, again, maybe you heard something as a 5-year-old that you stuck with you, that your aunt so and so had a problem with childbirth, and you're like, secretly, I don't want to have a child or give birth because I remember this story, So we kind of work through things like that, and just kind of see what comes up, and also work through if somebody wants to take a break, right? If they're just in that space where it's not working, they feel like they're hitting their head against the wall, or we need to change doctors, or maybe go the egg donor route or sperm donor route or whatever. There's so many options. So we just kind of navigate through the process as needed. I think one big thing that I see helps people is to have a plan and kind of work towards that, but know that the plan is flexible. So we're going to try for 6 months naturally. If that doesn't work, then we're going to go to do this. And if that doesn't work within this time frame, then we're going to switch or pivot to this. So they have an idea of what they're working towards in their head, rather than just peeing on a stick twice a month to see what happens.
No, absolutely. And that trauma piece is huge. It took a long time, even as a functional practitioner myself. A lot of us don't get to that mindset piece until way later. And I kept relapsing, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. And then I read the book, The Body Keeps Score. Light bulb went on, and I started diving deeper into what started off with plant medicine. I've done a lot of other somatic work, breath work, tapping. But there was one psilocybin journey in particular where it was pitch black, and everything was outlined with a rainbow. And then the next scene was burying a dead baby. And I couldn't put two and two together. But my journey person was like, "Did you ever have a miscarriage?" And I was like, "I did." And she was like, "That's kind of what that was showing you, So
Wow.
there's still some energetics and some emotions that you're still kind of I hadn't thought about it in over 25 years, it's just not something that's, but at the time, not having anybody who helped me properly grieve, like I said, talked about it. Absolutely, it got stored in my body. No wonder why I had such bad endometriosis, autoimmune towards the uterus, like all the things, light bulb, light bulb, light bulb.
Yeah.
So again, that's why I love, having people like you on this to help confirm, because hopefully people will get that you can't just keep focusing on the physical if you want to get rid of a chronic issue, like it just doesn't work.
100%. I've seen people 30 years later that have like, can you help me work through the grief of losing this baby, whether it was stillborn or miscarriage or whatever it is, because they never held the space for that before. And it is so healing, not only for you, but for the generations that come next, right? And I really believe as women as a collective energy, right? I always say, like the kings and queens, you were sent away if you had a miscarriage or you couldn't have a baby because the next woman had to come in and have it for you. And there was a lot of shame around that. And I remember having my first miscarriage feeling like, why am I feeling this way?
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'm feeling this way, not necessarily because on a conscious level, I knew that it wasn't my fault, but I was holding the energy for this collective of like lineage of women that have always been told like you're not good enough if this is happening to you.
Like, I'm
So
not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
yeah, so it's a lot, and it really, when you're on the journey and you're having those losses, it's hard too because you're like, I gotta hurry up and I don't have the time to be going through the losses and grieving and this and that. I don't have time on my side. And that's where we also work together to say, okay, how do we heal from this and not have the PTSD going into the next pregnancy, thinking that the shoe's going to drop again. Because for a lot of us, we kind of keep that as a marker. Okay, if I make it to 10 weeks this time, or if I make it to 13 weeks this time, that's when I had my last loss the last time, I'll be okay, right? And so there's always this anxiety in the early pregnancy around that. And we try to really work through that so that the energy of that doesn't come into the new little baby that's coming in, to feel all that.
Well,
So
I've seen
there's a
the
lot.
after products of that, of my his ex, they gave birth to a fully formed stillborn.
Mm,
And then she
wow.
ended up having a baby after that. And that kid is so riddled with anxiety and just stress and just not functioning very well at all. And I can't help but wonder if the stress hormones during her pregnancy, after that experience that she had, had a little something to do with the way this kiddo is presenting in the world today. There's got to be some correlation.
Right. I mean, I think it used to be that the doctors are asking you, what are you eating and drinking during your pregnancy? They really should be asking, how's your stress during your pregnancy?
Absolutely.
Because those cortisol, the hormone going through your blood, is what's getting to your baby. And obviously, the babies are developed in the way that are coming through us, right? So if we're in a constant state of stress, the baby's development is becoming that constant state of stress for them too. And it's hard because you consciously, again, you're aware of that. You're like, I'm stressed about being stressed because I know I shouldn't be stressed, right? And that's where you can work with somebody to help you through it. Because again, these are not situations that we are grown up seeing as a normal experience, right? When we're growing up, we hear people have had cancer or a heart attack or something like that, but nobody's out loud talking about the PTSD post loss or the stress of, your period coming every month when you're trying to have a baby. So having these conversations, being open now, I think is really bringing us a long way for both men and women. I'm a boy mom, and I want my boys to know that these conversations are okay to have and what to expect when they're older.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Man, you just set me up for the perfect pivot, I swear. So this is the time. What's the shameless plug time of the show? So how can people find you?
ElizabethKing.com. If you have any desire to become a fertility coach as well, we have a program to help others to get certified in that. I really encourage people, if you've had any sort of experience and you feel the call to help others on this journey, people need your help desperately. But ElizabethKing.com is really where you can find all the information of what we're doing.
Amazing. Also, make sure to visit wearenikki.com/podcast. Enter in Bio Beats to get 10% off. And because we really love our customers, the way that we show appreciation, we give away a Nikki device and a wellness set of frequencies, a $598 value on every show. So make sure to go to the show notes to figure out how to sign up. Want to say a big shout out to August winners. We got Janelle B, Charlie H, Emily G, and Leanne D. Congratulations. You win a Nikki device as well as a wellness suite of frequencies. It's a $598 value and it's all yours. Don't get too sad if you didn't win. Keep trying, keep listening, share, like, subscribe. That's how we get this beautiful message out to the world so people can heal. Thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to reading off the new names for next month. Make sure you're following us every week so you never miss an awesome episode. Thank you for joining us and have a healthy day.
Thank you.
Nikki Wellness Technology. Delivering frequency enhanced health.
It looks like a little watch, but it's actually a frequency device. It's bioenergetic, so it has this little frequency light situation that goes into your arm.
This is my Nikki. It is a bioenergetic wearable that works by emitting a specific frequency carried by a red light, as you can see on the back. It's aimed at enhancing the body's natural healing process to improve wellness and reducing stress, pain, and inflammation. And to select a frequency, you tap it to wake it up, and then you slide to the screens that list the different frequencies. I have wellness or Lyme on mine. So if we want to pick one, we just tap on it and you'll see the circles around, and there's a play button, play areas, tap there, and you can see the colors radiating that show that it's playing. And you would also see the red light on the back. And to stop, you just tap it again, and then you can slide and select a different frequency. I'm going to play afternoon. And you just tap, and away you go for your afternoon.
So they're two different things. You have the Nikki device, and then you have the frequency sets. And so right now they have the wellness set of frequencies and they have the Lyme set of frequencies, and both of them are absolutely incredible. I use both sets on a regular basis, so I absolutely love them.
Nikki Wellness Technology. Delivering frequency enhanced health. We are Nikki.com. The views, information, and opinions expressed in this content are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Freemedica. Freemedica Technologies, Inc. and its employees are not responsible, nor verifies accuracy any of the information contained in the following content. The primary purpose of this content is to educate and inform. This content does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services.